Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who love talking about movies but don't want to be too smug about it. I am, of course, Matt.
And I was going to try to do like a humble thing. I am just Rob.
No, you are the one and only Rob. How you doing, man?
I'm doing fine. I woke up with a really bad headache, and my eye was like that cluster headache where it's all just right behind your brain the entire time.
That
it's all
sucks.
like right here.
Yeah.
But I'm doing okay.
That's good.
Ready
man.
to talk about like a movie.
Yeah.
That's I've been looking forward to this.
I mean, Rob's got some news and things just a little bit. This will be a pretty streamlined episode, I think, because we're gonna talk. We socially successfully, effectively, we're the only people in the movie theaters.
Yeah.
There were like two people that were there during the trailers and then they left.
Yeah, what was that about? They were in our seat.
Yeah, they were in the seats.
In the whole theater, there's no one there. You walk in, you find them in our seat, and you're like,
yeah, I'm like, I'm not in
confrontational mode. I'm gonna go up.
And you were like, I'll be there.
Say something, man.
I'm just like, I don't.
I will walk up to their face.
I'm like, I'll just go up the next row and it's fine. And then they left and we were just like, well, we're already here. So
fucking bitches.
So we went to see Christopher Nolan's Tenet, which is spelled the same backwards as it is forwards. It's a palindrome.
Is that what a palindrome is?
Yeah, right.
What was I thinking it was?
It's a mirrored thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay.
It's the old it's my favorite old George Carlin bit where he's like, I wish my name was Otto so I could say it backwards as I could say it forward. Huh. But Tenet, and that will be that idea of Tenet being about things going backwards and forwards will be clearer when we get to the very unclear story about it. Well, Rob, what else is going on in the world? I've been watching some TV shows.
I have started watching The Haunting of Hill House.
Yes.
And I am on episode 7.
I'm going to rewatch it soon.
I really like it.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, like, where's it all going? What's it all mean?
Yeah, people have that kind of feeling, especially towards the end, because it starts off really strong.
It's not as overtly terrifying.
No.
But the horror means more because I get to know these people and like them for the most part.
It's got a great cast. It's got some really interesting characters. It's a complete take off of what the original book was, which is just like a group of people doing a haunting experiment.
Are you talking about like that old Liam Neeson movie?
Yes, the Liam Neeson is an adapt of the original Shirley Jackson novel.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine.
And the exceptionally good, I think, William Castle. Was it William Castle that directed the 60s one?
Yeah.
It's a freaking great movie.
Yeah, William Friedkin said it was like he said one of his favorites or whatever.
It's really spooky. I highly recommend checking that one out. That one's timeless.
I remember a lot of people saying that the horror in this show is very much like the horror in the book, which I have not read, whereas like it's very sparing. But I think that what makes me like the show is the fact that like everyone in the show is like they're good performances, and like I love the character development. Even if I do feel like I have yet to see something that really scared me. There's a couple scenes, mostly when they're kids, that I thought that
because then you're
really
actually
effective.
in the mansion.
Yeah. All the stuff that's outside of the mansion, I am less scared of. I just saw the episode. It's a really good one. Mike Flanagan should put it on his resume. It's the one where they're all in the funeral home and the power goes out, and it's like it's like several series of several long continuous shots. And it kind of flashes between them being in the funeral home after, spoiler alert for Haunting of Hill House, after Nell has committed suicide.
She dies in the first episode.
Yeah.
Because there's that really great scene where, I forget, it was one of the siblings is talking to her. And it's like she's like, hey, weren't you expecting you to be here? And then she gets the call that it's like, we found her, she's dead. And then it's just like
he turns around and she's right there. And you're like,
yeah. And at that point I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really spooky.
I like how it comes back around with Luke too, because you see that scene again. He's the character I think I like the most in this show because he has this really big. It's also as it turns out, it's the Invisible Man, Oliver Jackson Cohen.
Oh, it is.
It's the guy who plays the Invisible Man in
very briefly.
The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Because we don't see him because he's invisible.
He's invisible until the last half of the movie.
Yeah,
well, not even half.
But he's really good in it, and I really found his tragedy and his struggle really engaging, and like I really felt terrible for him, especially when not even to do with like Nell, but like when the chick he's trying to help like she kisses him, but really she's kissing him to reach around him and get the drugs.
Yeah.
And then she just vanishes. And I was like, oh,
that sucks. Yeah.
And I felt his trauma about this was way worse than everyone's else, especially the history of the house and the man in the hat that follows him around, just tormenting him.
That is a really great ghost design, because I what I like about this is very similar to something like Crimson Peak. The haunting apparitions and everything are mostly there as like precursors to things to come. They're more just like entities that just kind of exist. I mean, some of them are a little more aggressive, obviously, but it's
the Hat Man just wants his hat back.
Yeah, and he's just he just floats seamlessly above the ground like a couple of feet, and just with a big cane, and just like, is that the guy you're talking about? Yeah. And he's just like,
but you see him later, but it's not. He's human sized, and then it becomes his mom, and I don't know where it's all going yet, and I think what's gonna decide if I really love it or if it's just like a little thing is like how they pull it all off at the end. It's gonna be like a Watchmen scenario.
It's the sticking to your landing sort of deal.
Yeah.
That was mostly because Haunting of Bly Manor is gonna be out soon. The adaptation of Turn of the Screw.
I remember when I saw that part for the first time, the Hat Man, that's the part that like I was genuinely terrified.
Yeah,
because the kid just walks outside or walks out of his room and there's like not, and you know the show does a good job at not succumbing to jump scares and horror
it's got no time for that.
But when you do see something scary, because it's very subtle, it hits a lot harder. And when the kid just walks out and you don't see anything at first, then you see just a giant floating elongated man, and it's just kind of terrifying looking through your rooms. And I was like, it also makes me mad that like it takes like the dad and the mom this long to realize like maybe there's something wrong with our house.
Maybe something's wrong with this scary old mansion.
When the Dudley guy takes you aside and says we don't stay in the house after dark anymore, we lost one of our babies and we could hear crying up and down the halls. That's sort of like a big red flag.
Yeah, it's like
I've been watching that. I'm watching The Boys.
Been watching The Boys.
I'm caught up basically all the way up to.
I haven't finished the last episode yet, but I finished the second to last.
I am waiting for a big thing to happen. Like, I'm waiting for there. Did you watch the last episode where Homelander he has to go do damage control because he accidentally killed a little boy when he killed that terrorist. Yeah. He goes to the press conference and then he just like they all start booing him. And stuff. He has a fantasy about just mowing them down. And I was like, that was a big swing. I was like, damn it.
I felt really cheated by that because that was in the trailers, and I was like, "Oh, they're going there."
Yeah,
and it's like, no, they're not going.
Shoot the guy's finger off,
and then he just literally mows a bunch of people in half, and I'm like, and then I was like, "Oh, it's just a wasted daydream moment."
Yeah,
I
like the idea.
I kind of was annoyed by that because I was like, I already know he wants to do this.
Yeah,
I already know he hates all of humanity.
It goes back to my last critique, which is they're lazy with his superpowers because he only ever uses like his heat vision. I want to see like a superhero fight in this show, and I want to see a good one. We get some good stuff where also it was a really great like I felt so bad, but like when the Deep shows back up on that whale, he uses his powers to like torment them with sharks and dolphins.
That was
And also when he stands up and he's looking so like majestic, and he doesn't think they're gonna. And I was like, he's gonna go right through that whale. Yeah, and he sure does. And I felt awful for that whale.
Yeah, he gets so many poor marine life killed.
Yeah, but I'm waiting for a real like superhero fight thing.
Yeah,
like we get a really cool, like kind of a cool one where Butcher comes back for Huey. Yeah, Huey, because Starlight and him see each other, but he doesn't know Homelander's there, so she has to attack him to make it look like that.
Because Homelander finds him and just like, kill him. Yeah, kill him.
And then Carl Urban goes, "Oi, cunt!"
and that's every line he has in the whole show, and it's still great.
He says he's never had so many people come up to him on the street and be like, "Can you call me a cunt, please?"
You blokes got bollocks up in your bagging cunts, right? And that's every line he has, and it's great. Again, he is the most ridiculous part of a show about superheroes, but they've done a really good job fleshing out his character this season. He's become way more likable to me.
Yeah, especially like the dynamic he has with Huey and all that stuff. But at the very end of that episode, they bring out her brother, and he pulls. Spoiler for all this, if I haven't said that already. But he uses his powers and just collapses everything on Homelander, and I was like, that was dope.
Yeah.
That's what I want more of. I like that they kind of, because he doesn't just bounce back from it immediately. It takes him a while.
Yeah.
Because then we get Stormfront going on a rampage.
Right.
And I was like,
they're clearly taking a lot from the comics, and so I know where a lot of these things are going.
Yeah,
and I'm
right.
really hoping they hard subvert some of it, so I can be surprised.
me too. Same, that's where I was with
yeah.
Black Noir. We get a great scene with him.
Yes,
and I was like, there's a lot of good little Easter eggs. Until we like see his face, we don't know yet.
No. All I know is the actor who plays him, and that's.
But that could just be like, oh, he's the stunt guy.
That's
and he
just
gets credit
that's
or
the
whatever.
Ray Park thing going on.
Yeah.
With Stormfront, it's a very interesting character, but I'm hoping that they don't really go lacking with the fact that she's supposed to be a Nazi, that she's supposed to be a white supremacist.
They touch on that a little bit.
They touch on that a little bit, but it's so washed. It's so clean.
They make it look like she's not fervent with her ideology, which is not.
Which
like,
no.
not a fascist.
It's like you guys have a really great opportunity right now to have this character literally be everything that's happening right now, and if you don't do that, that's really weak. And
I kind of
because she's already an interesting character, but I need you, if you're going with this. I'm looking at you, Seth Rogen, and the rest of the team behind the boys. If you're really going with this,
Seth Rogen isn't one of the. Is he one of the people?
He's one of the producers.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the
I know.
people.
I saw an interview with the showrunner and the guy who's directed some of the episodes, and he's very political. He doesn't strike me as a guy who would wince away from that. So
Yeah, it's just so far they have, and I need her to be much more explicitly a Nazi and a racist, and it's not because I want to hear that language. It's just because not doing it that way is really tone deaf.
Yeah, and also like Starlight confronts her about some of that stuff, and she's like, "Oh, you mean just all the white people?" And she's like, oh, "Racist." She strikes me as more of a preening opportunist than a diehard zealot.
Yeah, and it seems like it's something that's well hidden because they're poking at who she really is.
Yeah,
because they make connections with another hero from a long time ago, and it's like, could she be the same person?
Who was overtly racist?
Yeah,
so,
who literally was like hunting down people in the South. And we'll see how that plays out, because now they've done a sort of interesting thing where with her and Homelander by being like he needs a dommy mommy, and she is that.
Yeah,
so,
they bring out the worst / best in each other or whatever. But,
and since he's kind of a broken man anyway, this is giving him an opportunity.
See, I
to
kind of
have
liked the trajectory with this character of being like, nobody tells me what to do now, and like I can do whatever I want. And he also wants to be liked.
Yeah, he wants to be loved.
Yeah,
like he hates not being admired, and it's.
I just want to see I want it to get to a point where we get like a real like shit kicker of a fight.
Yeah,
I'm talking like whether it's like a horrible massacre or it's like two powered soups going at each other, because it's not going to be Homelander and Stormfront.
No,
but like I think there's definitely an opportunity for Queen Maeve versus like Homelander or something. And I want
if they can go toe to toe, because it's. She's definitely intimidated by him, and it's just like, I don't know if I could go up against a guy like that.
Yeah,
but we'll see what plays out. I haven't watched the last
I want a
episode.
Man of Steel Smallville fight.
I was gonna say I wouldn't mind if it's going there, go for like a big city brawler where it's just where people are getting collateral damage.
All the Black Noir stuff was really cool.
Yeah.
Where like there's just a scene where he comes to this tech lady and he just has a picture that says Butcher, and she's like, "Oh, well, I'll find him and get back to you."
And he just sits down next to her.
Just looks at her, and he's like, "Okay," like he doesn't. I don't know anything about him in this universe.
And I don't think you're supposed to till
like, are they scared of him, or is he just kind of like, at first when I saw him, are they going to go with the angle like, oh, we need a masked ninja-y Batman character, so we kind of just marketed up this guy,
and they have called him
but he's just
essentially a ninja before, so
but he's not.
No.
He's way more powerful, which is how he is in the comics or whatever.
Right.
But like,
he's not just tech guy. He's a legitimate threat with powerful superpower.
Yeah,
he's got super strength at least, because he's just ripping heads off.
Yeah, they shot through one of his hands and he didn't even feel it.
Yeah, or he gets blown up or anything, and he's just like, whatever.
Yeah. So I was very curious. Like, are they aware of him, or is he kind of like a lovable is he kind of like
A socially awkward, like Rorschach type.
yeah, but then like once he sat down next to the dude at the piano and was just like, "You will now move," and I was like, "Oh, I get it. He's just kind of like I think he's just a lunatic.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he's self-indulgent." And he'll just make you move, and he'll serenade, but he'll also just like that's one of the things that they gotta like. If they subvert that, I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because I want to be surprised. Yeah.
Well, especially since they're not really going with the plot from the novel of like Homelander being framed for a lot of atrocities.
Yeah.
Because he's not really doing atrocities right now.
Because otherwise we would hear about it.
Yeah, or we would get those asides. Homelander in the novels is way more deviant and way more corrupt, and well, not as way more corrupt, but he's less of a character as much as he's a force of nature.
Yeah,
and it turns out that I'm not going to talk anything more about spoilers, but it turns out that like he was framed for a lot of it to drive him crazy. We're not getting that angle in this. Like we got so much focus on him.
The only one you could do is he didn't rape Butcher's wife.
He didn't hurt Becca. Yeah, but he had his child.
You could make that Black Noir, and then he could just be like, "Oh, I found her, and her son has superpower." But like they kind of really lean into like he's his dad. You're raising my son to be so I don't know, but I like everything so far. I just want to be surprised, and I want to see like a real throwdown. Mm-hmm. The one we get with Kimiko and her brother versus Stormfront was pretty cool. Yeah. She's just like blowing up people's houses and stuff.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh, she's the worst.
Yeah, she's the worst. I hate her so much. And it's really funny how like a lot of people
she's right off of a Reddit forum with superpowers.
Literally.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because a lot of people really loved her character coming out because she's this like she's very, very appropriately alt-right. Because her whole deal is like,
but is she though?
Buck authority. We're doing our own thing. Like all this is bullshit. It's all just pageantry. And
but that's what I'm saying is like she does it out of a way to like she strikes me more as a person who needs to like who is savvy with marketing, whereas Homelander is like an old 2000s producer who doesn't know how things go anymore.
Well, that's how they get you.
But is she fervent about her ideology?
Well, that's where I think that the creators need to lean more into it because if they don't, I'm like, well, you've got a character here who's really interesting because what I was just saying.
Whose name is Stormfront,
who was literally named. Garth Ennis named him when he was a character in the comic, literally off of the website, the now thankfully defunct website. Maybe thankfully now they're on Facebook. But anyway, I'm gonna digress. And like in that plot, Stormfront
is a man
who has been around for a very long time. Like he came of age like in the Nazi party.
Yeah.
And like has eternal youth essentially and has been alive that long and essentially was this enemy of America and is a fervent Nazi. And in this, like, they have a way of doing what the alt-right does, which is, hey, this whole, like, they've cleaned their act up a lot and they're able to be social media savvy and everything, but it's just a way of integration and indoctrination because so many people in our world, in Twitter, which is like, oh my gosh, I love this character. She's so cool. And then it turns out she's a racist and they're just like, oh, like now people are like, if you stand this character, you're a racist, and I'm like, this is exactly how real life works.
Yeah,
like, you gotta lean in.
It's gonna turn it into like, she thinks that superheroes are above it all, but she recognizes the power of having 10 million followers, like a Donald Trump.
Yeah,
he's horrible and odious, but he has enough people who like him that they have a small army of people that they like as well. So speaking of which, this leads us into our next piece of news, which is, boy, this Joss rewrite really sings, doesn't it? I laughed to the death on that.
I bet you did, yeah.
I literally like looked at Sarah and I was like, ah! Like I just screamed laugh. Because like I loved the reference to BVS, which is Hans Zimmer title card. It's called Dawn of the Seven or whatever. Even though
it's very heavy-handed on that.
I don't know if it's specifically supposed to be referencing like just a team-up movie, or if it's because it doesn't really reference anything else in BVS aside from the name is Dawn of the Seven.
Right, but it also is like I think it's just generalized modern superhero stuff.
Yeah. But also,
Because it is less Marvel than it is DC.
well, yeah, the characters for sure as
right,
well.
but also the way they do this in show movie.
Yeah. I also liked the fact that like they're just straight up referencing like there's no way they wrote that show probably last year, but there was like the Snyder Cut hoopla was still around at that time. So I'm wondering, did they write that like, well, this Joss rewrite really sinks, doesn't it? Just because Joss Whedon writes superhero movies, or was all the drama behind the set also you think played a part into that?
I think
it felt.
I think it's more of the former.
Yeah.
Because Joss Whedon is ubiquitous right now with a lot of comic book movies, and it's a character that he's a person that people know.
Yeah.
So to the layman, they're just like, yeah, it's a quippy Joss Whedon rewrite.
Yeah,
and
Greg Gunberg plays Agent
I
Pearson
saw Greg. I was like, oh, there's Greg Grunberg.
Yeah. And like they have a female hacker character. Like it felt Joss Whedon-y. Yeah. It didn't look Joss Whedon-y. It looked Michael Bay.
The fact that they got Grunberg in there is very like
J.J. Abrams is producing it, obviously.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is so you may be right on something there. They may be like everyone there is aware of it. Like you said, a lot of these people work for each other, work with each other.
Yeah.
So
but I thought that I just laughed really hard at that. I was like, God, this Joss. When I was watching, I was like, God, it's garbage, and I hate it. Like, and I was like, and I kind of hate Joss Whedon now. So like, it felt weirdly apropos. But it leads us to the other piece of news, which is apparently Snyder is going back to Justice League, and he is getting to do about 2 weeks of additional
how much money
scenes.
is Warner Brothers giving him? Is it 40 something million?
The budget that was originally given in I think it was the Variety or Hollywood Reporter article was that he gets 30 to 40 million to do his like visual effects work, finish the edit, any new music or ADR that's necessary. And now they said that budget has gone up from 40 to 70, so this has added about $30 million, and he's getting what Variety and Hollywood Reporter are saying is Ben Affleck is coming back in the Batsuit, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, and Henry Cavill. But Henry Cavill was asked last week if he was going to be doing any new photography on Justice League. Now, this is before the story broke, so things could have changed or whatever. And he said, no, I'm not really going back to anything. They it's all stuff they already have, and I'm just watching and excited like everyone else. So I don't know if maybe something changed or maybe he's not going to be coming back. But I mean,
he's not in most of the movie, and then when they got pretty much everything there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they don't really need any reshoots or anything.
The
with
only
him.
way they would try to reshoot stuff with him is if it was like more stuff for the end part.
Yeah,
which makes me wonder: is he gonna like add some more stuff to his ending? Which is the big thing that makes me think of it. The cool thing is also like, a few years ago, Ben Affleck was like, I'm done being Batman. And now he's back in the Flash, and he's literally going to be back in the Batsuit next week to do these reshoots.
Once you go Bat, he's like, I really actually really miss that suit.
Yeah. And we've gotten another rumor is that he is going to, he has been offered some sort of a show or film series on HBO Max to do a Batman thing that he wants to do. This is like heavily rumored, but I wouldn't. Like I said, things are just gonna the snowball's gonna keep rolling.
Yeah.
I remember when this thing first came, like when the news got announced, and we did the episode like several months ago, and people were like, would Ben Affleck come back to do Batman? They're like, I don't know. And then boom, the Flash break.
Flashpoint.
Like, this thing is like, to quote the Lord of the Rings, this is the trickling of the stones that's going to become a giant avalanche. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get like more stuff with Deathstroke, more stuff with, not necessarily like, I'm not sure that we're going to get that Affleck series or anything, but like,
yeah, that's a big bridge too far, considering they've got the Batman coming out soon, and I
feel like it works though if you make it, this is the HBO Max thing where this is just a Ben Affleck, like,
well, and also like if Affleck wanted to direct it too, he can. He's already proved himself to be a quite good director.
Yeah, the rumor was he wants like complete creative control if he does it, and we'll see what happens.
You know what? It's not a gamble I wouldn't want to make. Like, he's a really good Bruce Wayne. I think everybody, even all those people that, never cared for BVS or anything going on so far, just like, I really liked him as Bruce. I really liked him as Batman.
Yeah. And we're going to see him.
And having him just in that world would be really neat.
Yeah. And I feel like when we did the DC
no Joker, please. Have all kinds of other characters and villains. No more Jokers.
No Jared
now.
Leto. Yeah, I actually wouldn't hate him to come back because I love the idea that he has a grill because Batman smashed the teeth out of his face or whatever. But That's 2 movies that Jared Leto has had his teeth broken. Is that in Fight Club?
Fight Club.
Yeah.
Cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Maybe that's all of Joker's things is just he's a continuation of Project Mayhem.
Oh yeah.
There you go. No, I hate it.
I remember when we did.
Tyler Durden is a great Batman villain.
You remember when we did the DC fandom episode, and one of the things I forgot to bring up was they interviewed.
Because there are some more things that came out of that.
Yeah, but there was one of the big ones was an interview with Walter Hamada and Jim Lee, and talking about the big thing they're going. And that showed up in a lot of other of their panels and stuff. Was they're really pushing the multiverse idea. That all of these things can exist together, and you can have a Joker or the Batman living off in its own world. You can have the TV universe. You can have our current DC universe, and you can have all these things living currently. I don't think the audience would be confused if there were 2 Batmans at the same time, because there's going to be next year. There's going to be the Snyder Cut, and there's going to be the Batman.
Yeah.
If it's
and I mean, we were fine with it when there was the animated Batman on TV, and all the Burton and Schumachers.
I really feel like a lot of people have said, if this is successful, and I hope it is, I hope it will be. I know I'll like it, but I'm hoping that the broader audience likes it. But if the Snyder Cut comes out and it's successful, I don't see any reason why his world can't continue on HBO Max.
Yeah. In fact, I think that idea that you're saying of them leaning into just kind of defining.
Yeah, they kept saying it so much. I was like, I get it, multiverse, I got it.
But that gives them a unique perspective that kind of gives them a marketing ability over something like Marvel. Marvel has a combined universe. There are separate universes, but they are intrinsically connected to the main storyline.
Pocket universes inside of it.
Right, but all those characters are connected, and they are not, aside from maybe like Legion, the Netflix characters, they're all in the same world. But DC has the opportunity to rebrand it with the multiverse thing, saying we got something of our own, and it's that we have a giant collective multiverse where all of our characters sometimes come together, like Flashpoint will be, because you've got the bringing in of the CW shows and Netflix.
Yeah, and Ezra Miller showed up on The Flash.
Yeah, which
was the first time
crazy.
which was the first time they literally dipped their toe into this idea to see if it worked, and it did.
It did.
It also is where he got his name from.
Yeah, the Flash, huh?
And Andy Muschietti said that they're going to give him a new costume, and Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton's Batman. They're leaning heavy into this. I don't think there's a problem with having you have a Superman on the CW shows, and you have a Superman over here, and you have a Batman here, and you have a Batman shows up at the end of that show Titans.
Yeah.
It's like a stunt guy, but it is what it is.
But it's Batman.
And Bruce Wayne is like a presence sort of felt in the show. So I don't think people need to be explained. I think the people who are confused are just old boomers now.
Yeah.
The people who consume their content our age or even older, they get it.
It's going to take all the different studios, both on television, digitally, and in cinema, who are DC property users, to all come together and essentially sign a Magna Carta saying that we all accept one another. We all can come together at some points, but we all exist, in our own frame. We'll be here on Netflix. You'll be there in the movies. We'll be here on the CW. And but we all recognize we're of the same world.
Yeah.
That would be unique. That would be interesting. That way, you could have I can see it now, kind of like the flipping of the Marvel pages.
Yeah.
Whenever you see a Marvel property, it's it shows all the different Batmen from the different things, or if we get Green Lantern, all the lanterns, etc., and just says the DC multiverse.
Yeah,
that's good marketing.
It is good marketing, yeah. And when we did the CW had their big crossover event they have, which was they did Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
Which is literally about the multiverse. And Green Arrow gives one of his many monologues about how we live in a multiverse, and it was so exposition-y. I kind of rolled my eyes, but he goes, and each one has their own heroes, and they showed the movie. They showed the Green Lantern. They showed the DCEU. They showed a clip of Man of Steel, and they showed little clips as he's going through the multiverse, showing which Earth is where. So they showed Earth something. They didn't say which one is
right. Earth 123.
They didn't do that for all of them, but they did do it for some of them. but like they showed the Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds. They showed the DCEU. They showed Titans is on another Earth from the CW. You know, and back in the day, like even a few years ago, CW didn't have all these shows.
No.
Black Lightning and Supergirl were CBS shows. They got folded in because this is the good thing about the DC brand is they own all those characters. They're all Warner Brothers. They own all of them. Every time you watch a DC animated show, even going back to the 90s, there's a big WB logo in front of it. They've had these characters for forever.
Every time you watch Batman or Superman, Bugs Bunny pops out, dun 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 dun, dun, and that's and you know it's a Warner Brothers property.
And because of that, they have a freedom in a way that Marvel doesn't, because Marvel doesn't own all their characters.
No,
they're
slowly acquiescing in things. One of the things that just came to mind for me, something that's kind of a big deal that just came up, is the trailer for Marvel's new series, WandaVision.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It was fine.
It looks
I'm very
interesting.
I don't understand. I don't get any of it. I don't know what's happening. How is the Vision back? Is it all in her brain or her head? Or
I think that's the point, is to check it out, see what kind of Twilight Zone stuff is going down on this. But someone made a point. They were looking over everything in it, and there's a point where Wanda is kind of making like some wine glasses move with her mind, doing some Scarlet Witchy stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get the name wrong entirely, but they were looking at the name of the wine. It was like Chateau de Mageray or something. And they were like, essentially that closely translates to House of M. And House of M was
the House of Mutants.
Yeah. Was this big moment where that was very Scarlet Witch heavy, and that they believe that that's a reference to WandaVision will be a series that will allow for the X-Men to finally come into the Marvel universe.
Interesting.
They're like, if this is a House of M reference, then that is a direct connection to the X-Men, and that means that this might be the way,
because she is technically an X-Men character.
Yes.
They kind of just folded her in and Quicksilver without
they're the children of
Magneto.
Yeah.
But we don't reference that.
Right. The only show that
because we have another Quicksilver who is also
the only thing that's referenced it is Legion, because that's Charles Xavier's son.
Yeah.
But they can't say mutants yet. They've had to say miracles. I think people are kind of betting on that WandaVision will be the series that will bridge the new acquiescence of the X-Men into the Marvel MCU. Yeah. So we'll see how that goes. Yeah, I think it looks interesting.
So do I. Nothing was like, I was like,
I love Paul Bettany. I don't see anything Paul Bettany's in. And he looks charming in this. So
I'm just curious, like, what's gonna be like the through line? Is there a bad guy? Is it like an action heavy show? Like, I just have a bunch of questions and no answers.
And they're bringing in Kat Dennings' character from Thor.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
I think it's just
she hasn't been seen since 2013.
Yeah, I think it's just a nice way to bring Kat Dennings back into something, which, hey, I'm great with that. I love her. The other actress that's being brought in is one of the people who becomes Captain Marvel at one point in the comics. Yeah. And so she's going to be in it. We'll see what goes down with that. I just thought that came up and I was like, oh, there's been some rumors that that's going to be another piece of the MCU puzzle that has been reconnected. They haven't gotten everything, but they're slowly working it out.
The big thing, the only big like MCU show that I'm kind of just very curious about is like Falcon and Winter Soldier, just to see how that
plays out.
But Snyder's getting to go back and do his some reshoots on it, and I'm very curious. I think if this movie comes out and it's successful, there's definitely going to be a call for a sequel. And I don't know if he's either going to, I hope he doesn't. Here's what I hope he doesn't do. Take this money and make it more of a standalone thing. I hope he doesn't do
Cut it off at the path.
As he himself says, fire all of your bullets. Like, end it with the dark side standoff and end it with like, oh shit, there's more stuff out there and we gotta be ready, as Batman always says. Like, end it with your not a cliffhanger per se, but like cliffhanger-ish that sets you up for another
leave
thing.
An obvious opening path to whatever you want to do next.
Here's what I hope.
Maybe pass it off to another director. We'll see,
Yeah. Here's what I hope he does do. Put Martian Manhunter in it.
Yeah. Which is, I mean,
bring back, because we know that was the idea, is that we see it in the trailer. We see Diane Lane and Amy Adams meet. and they're sitting down and talking about how much they miss Clark or whatever. That scene, and when it ends, Diane Lane gets up to leave, shuts the door, and turns into Martian Manhunter, who turns back into Harry Lennox.
Henry Lennox, yeah.
Do that.
Yeah.
Put that in the movie.
I have a feeling.
And make him show up at the end fight or something, probably.
Yeah, we'll see if that.
Yeah,
but I
that's
have
a
a
big
feeling we're
ask.
gonna get Martian Manhunter in this. Like that would be.
I think
that'll be dope.
I think it's gonna be just to like, because I'm sure they had planned to do pickups and reshoots as every movie does, but he left before that happened. So maybe it could just be that, because it's not a long shoot. It's a week and a half to 2 weeks is what they said.
Yeah, that's gonna be a really paced, really speedy time.
Yeah, so I don't think they can do anything big. I think it's a way to like just finish up a few things that he wants to put in there and pepper him in. But yeah, I hope it's cool. I saw a lot of people making some really dumb arguments about it online. It's like, oh, this is money that could have been given to like, COVID-19 research. Way to go. And I was like,
that's a bad faith argument.
yeah. And I was like, Zack Snyder is not responsible for COVID research.
People are trying to help. Like you could say that about a lot of things. Mostly I've been seeing probably like the picture I saw, because a lot of the groups I follow are very not for this. Is a big old dump truck full of that just says like money for it, and then there's a giant pit that's too big for it for the Snyder cut.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. I think those people are obviously exaggerating more and more.
I mean, I think it's going to be great when it comes out. I think when I see it, I'm going to be like, look, if as someone who loved the previous two films in that iteration, I'm still very much going to be like, if it feels like those, I'm going to be on board.
Oh yeah,
I understand that other people will not be. I've seen like the arguments who are like that. Like it was the guys from. I remember like when I used to watch Collider back in the day.
Oh yeah.
And they've just now it's just like 2,000 views a video. Like what happened to that channel?
What happened to Collider?
I don't know, but like they were saying like it's being marketed in bad faith, like it's just an assembly cut. And I was like, well, every movie is just an assembly cut until it isn't.
Right.
When you take the stuff out, and so, like are you implying that the theatrical version is also his assembly cut? Because it's not. Like it's so
director's cut can be a very loose term, as I've discovered. Like and especially when you border in that line of movies that are unrated, like that's really dumb. That's just a nice way to get $5 more out of somebody and get one more scene.
Yeah. And so for me, like,
but that's more of the producers and the production company than the director himself. Unless
here's
you
our
get
alternate ending or whatever.
Not every
that's
director's
not what this is.
Not every director's cut is, as we've mentioned, a Kingdom of Heaven situation where it's like almost a totally different movie.
Yeah. And I also have to like keep my own like fanaticism in line, because I know that not everyone is as up to date on every aspect of this story.
Right.
A lot of people do not know the degree to which that was reshot. I've seen a number of people being online like, I can't believe they're like giving him more money to go back and finish this. Like they don't even know that he was taken off the movie.
Yeah.
And they left. So like I think a lot of these people
I don't know this is a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah, it's just not. I mean, his name is on the screenplay, but it won't be for this. But anyway, I'm excited to see Ben Affleck back in the cowl. Like the fact that they're agreeing to come back and do these reshoots, especially amid the Ray Fisher allegations to the studio, which is another thing that I read in the article. Is they're doing this amid this investigation that's happening, which Ray Fisher has said Warner Brothers is not. There's a lot of he said, she said.
Oh yeah.
Warner Brothers saying he's not cooperating with the investigator. He said, well, you didn't pick an impartial investigator. You picked one that is going to answer to Warner Brothers and Warner Brothers alone, not to AT&T or Warner Media. And like, it's a whole hoopla. Jason Momoa came out and said some quote unquote some real shit went down on the Justice League shoot, and people need to be held accountable. So that's another person adding their name. First member of the cast proper to come out and
back
say
up Ray and all the way through.
Yeah, but. Yeah,
but it feels like with everybody coming together for, very funny, kind of like Justice League. Everyone's kind of coming together for Ray and for everything going on. It seems like he's got it's going to be a safe room for everybody that was involved, because it's distancing itself further and further from Joss Whedon's kind of. If
Warner Brothers had some smarts, they would throw that version under the bus.
Yeah,
and just say like,
well, I think them leaning in on how big the excitement is for the Snyder's cut.
Yeah,
they
but part
are
of that
more
is,
or less.
But part of that is Warner Media and AT&T, because they're the people that greenlit this. Warner Brothers probably wanted this thing to die,
right?
So they could just move on.
And
I don't understand. And I get that, but judging from like Walter Hamada and how he talked about it in his interviews, he seems pretty excited. So I think if they were smart, they would be like, look, we made a mistake. We're coming out trying to make it better, and we want you guys to see this version of this movie. Like, that'd be the smartest way to do it.
We don't get that all the time.
And if you're a person out there who's genuinely not excited and you think they're like wasting money on this when they could be giving it to like smaller filmmakers or filmmakers of color, is another argument I've seen. Like, we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I also this is a whole mishmash of news because I'm waking up for all the news we were gonna do last week or whatever. The Snyder Cuts Foundation, the Americans for Suicide Prevention or something. Snyder just tweeted out on his thing is that they're closing in on $500,000 in donations.
There you go.
So I think that all things considered, I'm happy to see it. I think the only way this becomes a waste of money is if you blow $250 million. Because that original budget was like, with the reshoots and all that hoopla included, it was like $300 million, which gives you you have to get at least 900 something back.
Yeah, to make even.
To make a good profit off that, because your investors are getting some, the movie theaters take a percentage. Like you're getting a mulligan at a $200 million movie. All you have to do is spend 60, 70 to get it back where it is.
Well,
you could double your profit.
Yeah, in this case,
it's literally not a waste of money, and it's a boon to your streaming service.
Do you? I'm about to say, do you think that they'll do a theatrical release, like a limited theatrical release?
I think a theatrical release is probably a heavy ask considering COVID.
Yeah, this is next year.
I think they will definitely do a packaged release, a Blu-ray, or like a 4K or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Because Snyder said at the end of this, after the 4-hour episodes, we're going to compile it into a full-length movie that you can watch if you want.
That'll be nice.
Yeah, and I would be very shocked if they didn't release that on Blu-ray because they want that. Again, that's just more. They'll make $60 million back on Blu-rays alone, or something like this. So, speaking of Jason Momoa, the last thing we'll talk about, and we'll get into what we're here for. Dune.
Yeah, I thought
Dune trailer.
I thought we had talked about that last time.
We talked about it at the theater when we got out of Tenet. But
well, yeah, okay. We didn't talk about Dune then.
Yeah. I think in No Holds Barred, I think it looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks awesome. It looks great.
Jason Momoa is just himself in the trailer.
Ah, my boy!
My boy! He comes over. I loved the cast. I'm still not sold on Timothée Chalamet as Paul Atreides. I think the next movie is going to be a time jump where he's older.
Yeah,
because he doesn't strike me as the bold man of action. I'm not trying to like he's a skinny fucking nerd like he is in a lot of his movies, but like I think he's a good actor. I'm not sold on because Dune is Star Wars for people who don't like Star Wars that much. It's Star Wars for older men.
It's Star Wars on psilocybin, like it's acid Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's like Star Wars
with more politics,
more
like
politics and esoteric religion and stuff that like I've watched a few videos. I'm actually probably going to do the audiobook and do Dune this month. Like
I read the first half
at work. We're
Dune.
going Dune crazy right now.
Yeah.
So
I read Dune like 7 years ago. I read the first half of it and then I lost the book, and I never got to finish it. I watched the sci-fi series way back in the day, and I remember liking that, but I watched it. Like clips of it on YouTube, and I was like, it does not hold up.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up.
I'm one of those rare people that finds the David Lynch Dune to be pretty entertaining, and
I've never seen it, and everyone tells me don't. So
I wonder how many of those people just wouldn't like David Lynch's movies in general.
That's fair.
But then again, I know a lot of David Lynch fans and like Criterion Collection movie snobs that don't like it either because it's kind of a mess. And of course, he himself has disowned it. Like he's like, I don't like that movie. It wasn't what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yet I think there's a lot in that movie where you can see things that he's going to do stylistically later in his career. 'Cause it was early in his career.
I've never seen it.
It was before Blue Velvet.
But I'd believe that.
Yeah. It's got some cool moments.
I think
and a good cast.
I think considering the history of this franchise-ish, to use that or whatever, they got the right guy to do this.
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve is...
And then they picked the right time for him to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Early Villeneuve could not have done this.
Too ambitious.
But after
Blade
Arrival
Runner.
and Blade Runner, he's ready for this.
And the only reason...
He even himself said that. He said, like, I wanted to make a Dune movie forever. I love it. And he goes, but I don't know if I would have been ready earlier. And he goes, but now, like, the plan is this is going to cover about the first half of the book.
Yeah, it's going to be a two-parter. Like,
but they haven't greenlit the sequel yet.
Yeah.
Because fucking Warner Brothers is waiting to see how much money it makes.
Yeah, because, I mean, they're also probably looking at the fact that
Blade Runner didn't
make its money back, which is ridiculous. But I'm sure it made back on home because it did pretty successfully, and it got those Oscar nominations.
I think it broke even at the end of the day or something.
So I can understand why the Warner Brothers suits are sitting there tapping their fingers like, all right, Villeneuve, this is a big deal now.
But this is not that. Blade Runner is more niche. Dune has a huge following, and it's a blockbuster trailer.
Yeah.
And this is the thing I've wanted from him is like I've always wanted him to take a real swing at something that is not just cerebral, because Blade Runner has action, but like that is spectacle driven as well.
Yeah,
because it is,
which is good for him. Like, and something like he's good at making things big on a small scale because all of his, even going all the way back to Sicario and Prisoners, like his style can turn a small, like a crime drama, which both those movies are, into something a little bigger and more bleak, which he's good at bleak.
I think that this movie is big on a big scale.
Yeah.
Like those shots of like the Harkonnen army and stuff, and like this.
You get Dave Bautista as the Beast Rabin.
Yeah, he's the older of Harkonnen's nephews.
Yes, because they haven't introduced Fade Ruatha, who was most famously played by Sting in the original, as a very crazy Sting.
Yeah,
we'll see how they do with that character design.
Yeah, because I remember at the end of the sci-fi series, they fight, him and Paul Atreides fight, or whatever.
Because that's how it ends, is him and Atreides duel.
And I was wondering, and I was like, where's this dude? It's the first half, so he wouldn't be in it anyway.
Right.
So, but everything I've seen makes me like, first of all, I'm just glad Bautista's in this movie because that's great casting, and like he was in Blade Runner. He's the thinking man's rock. I've said it. I've said it.
Thinking man's rock, indeed. Yeah.
I
love Bautista.
I loved the shots we get of like I just said his name, Jason Momoa, and Stuck in Idaho, just cutting throats and killing folks. Love it. Good stuff.
And him and James Brolin playing
the other one,
playing the Patrick Stewart character. Yeah. Playing
the sword man. He's one of the sword masters.
Gunny. I can't remember the character's name, but they're doing the fight, and they've got like the invisible like shield suits and everything. It's pretty dope.
Oscar Isaac looks great.
Yep.
Stellan Skarsgård looks gross,
looks terrifying.
Yeah.
He looks like Marlon Brando.
Yeah, taking a big bath in spice to keep himself from dying. Like, it looks like it's going to be good. Are there any particular things that stood out to you? And then we'll move on.
Well, I liked.
We got to talk about the sandworm.
Yes.
Great.
I mean that. Because you get so much opportunity to do whatever you want with that design. It is both simple and complicated, and instead they definitely went for something that is massive and like godly almost. You also got to see Javier Bardem very briefly as the leader of the Fremen.
Zendaya for half a second as well.
Yeah, Zendaya is going to be in that. I mean, I like the design of everything. It's not as orange like when they're on Dune. Everything's a little darker.
Yeah. You were expecting the Roger Deakins orange.
Yeah, it ain't that.
No.
It's not the West Coast right now.
I think they want to make it look like
almost more spacey.
Tunisia and stuff. Like just hot, arid, bright. Everything sucks. Like it's a terrible place to live.
I think we've hit up on everything. I mean, they're selling you on the big lines immediately. You know, fear is a little death. Fear is the mind killer. When the fear passes through me, the only thing left will be me.
Yeah,
and that's literally in the first chapter of the book.
Yeah.
Like I forgot that the scene of him testing in the pain box.
I want to see them play around with like the powers, because this is supposed to come out in December. If they don't push this back, like it's coming out soon. So it
ain't far off.
Yeah. So like I want to see them talk about like the Bene Gesserits and like the martial arts, the powers. Like this is Dune is in a way it's like a book ahead of its time.
Yeah,
like, it was
considering that it's like the cornerstone for a lot of modern science fiction. It's one of the most ambitious ever made.
Yeah,
like it would be one,
and its sensibilities hold up.
Yeah,
when you read it, it doesn't, like when you read like an old book, like you read like Last of the Mohicans, you're like, how could anyone read this boring fucking book?
It's how I feel about something like Scarlet Letter, like Hawthorne. I'm like, why do we have to read this? Like, there are better books that cover the subject that are more contemporary. Hey, English contemporary concepts. We need to shake things up a little bit.
This is like when people talk about like how like, oh, Starship Troopers is an amazing book, and then I read it and I'm like,
I'll stick with that movie.
yeah. But like this is like what Cervantes did to fiction is what Dune did for like science fiction.
Yeah, like, and he was writing it around time, like that Ursula Le Guin was also writing her science fiction, changing the game a little bit, and Philip K. Dick.
Yeah, I'm not shitting on that. I'm just saying like what his was,
but for a big space opera,
that is not bogged down by its weird syntax, because it's not. It's fairly fun to read from what I remember.
But especially since it is steeped in lore, because it combines, again, very psychedelic, all these ideas of spiritualism, Judeo-Christian,
and
Islamic,
your politics, and the U.S.'s attachment to oil is one of the themes.
The spice melange.
Yeah.
But yeah, then there's like this heavy kind of Muslim-related religiosity in there, and the Shahaloud, and they have jihads and everything, and it's very bold in taking in cultural understanding that we have then and setting it literally. And it's also an ambitious future because it's set like thousands of years in the future, where Earth is a far gone concept.
Yeah, and it is like we've devolved back into fiefdoms and into feudalism.
I was talking about that with one of my coworkers about that. That's what makes it so interesting, is it's not about empires or anything like that. It's literally just we've gone back to dukedoms and houses, and it's almost becomes medieval again.
Yeah,
and
we make the same mistakes is what he's saying. Yeah,
but the spice is what allows for space travel.
Yeah. But yeah, looks great. You want to talk about Tenet?
Yeah, let's talk about Tenet. Yeah, I'm very excited for, and I loved in that trailer the use of Pink Floyd's Eclipse.
Yeah, it's the Hans Zimmerized version of it.
I'm like, oh, that's a good choice. I always love the song choice that some people pick for that, and I'm like, ooh, Floyd's a good call for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was movie news. Into the Nolan verse.
Yeah.
We went and saw Tenet. It is the newest film by Christopher Nolan, acclaimed director of many acclaimed films.
Yeah.
It is his newest, starring John.
Too many. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Too many. No, I'm kidding. I don't want to tip my hand early here, but go ahead.
Starring John David Washington,
Robert Pattinson,
the wonderful
Kenneth
Robert
Branagh.
Pattinson, Kenneth Branagh,
Elizabeth Debicki, and an unrecognizable Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Yep. Yeah. Didn't even know it was him.
Yeah.
A lot of unrecognizableness.
What were your expectations?
I was very excited going into this because I was like, this is, Christopher Nolan is somebody who, when he gets to do what he wants to do in a world that's his, you get something really unique. The trailers for it and everything, I was like, how are they going to play off this time, not time travel, not time manipulation sort of idea? When they were talking about, we're here to prevent World War III, I'm like, okay, that's kind of a lame, low-hanging concept. But I was really stoked, and Robert Pattinson's becoming one of my favorite actors right now. I love everything he's in.
Yeah.
I'm excited to watch that new Netflix movie, The Devil All the Time.
Yeah.
I saw the novel for it. It's got a great cast. He looks great in it. I'm probably gonna watch that tonight. So my expectations were pretty high, pretty excited. And what about you?
I mean, my expectations were pretty high, and then they just waned because of COVID. And I saw this more on we just kind of saw it on a whim. And I think my expectations were middling at that point.
Because if everything that happened hadn't happened the way that it happened,
it would have come out months ago.
Yeah, and it would have been something like, I'm like, ooh, that is in my top 5 movies I want to see this year. Is Tenet.
So I'm gonna.
I figure this is gonna be, because this is a movie not a lot of people have had the opportunity to see.
We'll do spoiler free.
We'll do a spoiler free quick review, kind of keep it light, and then we'll definitely do a hard all right, now we're going into the nitty.
I feel, because after I watched this movie, I felt very perplexed.
You've seen it twice now, though.
Yes, and it did not help me the second viewing.
I can imagine it would.
I felt the same way. And after I watched this movie, I rewatched several Christopher Nolan movies with Sarah. I rewatched some of them were quite the breeze that I enjoyed a lot more than I thought I would. I'm starting to wonder if we have hyped Christopher Nolan to the point that he will not deliver what we want him to. And I think that's true. And I also think Christopher Nolan confuses the thing that everyone else confuses Zack Snyder for, which is just because it's long does not mean it's complex or deep. I think that's what I feel about this movie. I don't think it's a bad movie. I think it's mostly fine with some great performances, especially from Kenneth Branagh, who just chews on all the scenes in a great way.
He's just a bad Russian
and
man.
some really cool spectacle that I don't usually
Oh, yeah.
expect from Nolan.
Yeah.
And
That's for certain.
But I think that there's like the house is built on sand.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the house is good, it's kind of crumbling inside. It's sinking into itself. Is how I look at this movie. What do you think about it? What was your thoughts? And I'll echo something that you said when we left the movie. Not who is this for? Why is this?
Why is this? Yeah, because I think people have said that this is to him one of his most ambitious projects and everything. And I mean, now that we've had a week or so to think on it, like, I'm amazed how much I don't think about this movie.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even feel like I watched it.
Yeah.
Like it feels like a nothing ball.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like I can't even be disappointed because I didn't know what to expect the movie to be. I was just excited at the mystery. And it's not that like I have to have the mystery solved. It's not like one of these things where people have been, clawing at the walls, just still trying to figure out Inception. It's just that I don't. It feels like such a cluster. Like it doesn't feel like it was put in the right direction. Like or it feels like a puzzle that wasn't like put together right. Like
it also feels like a movie that could easily be said to be overwritten.
Yeah,
or something like that.
Very much so. A lot of exposition and a lot of people just asking questions.
I'm all for artistic vision, but this is a scenario where I would be like having the outside quality control. When I'm working on a mix and I'm not sure about the quality of it, one of the first things I do is I send it to a mastering engineer who is going to master it later. And they provide quality control. They listen to, like, is there enough bass in the mix? Is there too much bass? Is it building up and muddying up everything? Is there not enough high end? Having quality control can, in a lot of instances, be good, especially if they don't have enough power to destroy my mix. They're just telling me like, oh, well, if I do this, this, and this when I master it, it's gonna throw your whole mix out of whack. So maybe go and make these adjustments. Mm-hmm. Christopher Nolan has reached the point where like it's the dark side of auteurism, where when you are answerable to no one, you can become self-indulgent.
Yeah,
in a way. I think
that,
which is when being to go back to the patron saint of the podcast, like Snyder is insanely collaborative. Mm-hmm. He wants everyone in their department to feel like they've done a good job. And he lets the set people do their job and the costume people do their job. I'm not saying Christopher Nolan doesn't do that, but he seems to enjoy the collaboration, whereas Christopher Nolan, this is as much a Christopher Nolan film as anything I've ever seen.
Yeah.
This movie is made.
It's unfiltered Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, this movie is made. I said who is this movie for? For fans of Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, it's for Christopher Nolan.
That's
because this is you had told me, I think, that this has been a story he's been wanting to do for a while now. Like this is an idea he's had for a long time.
I think so. I can't remember.
Yeah, talking about exposition, I remember when I saw Inception, one of my criticisms of Inception was I was like, Ellen Page's character only exists to give exposition.
And kind of Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, except Joseph Gordon-Levitt gets to do a lot.
And he has a cool hallway action scene.
Yeah.
That's one of the movies we watched up to this, and it made me realize I'm not crazy for thinking that this movie kind of felt hollow and like a letdown, because I at the end of Inception I felt this wonderful as many like little nitpicks I have about that movie, like why all the dreams are just generic five-star wealthy hotels and stuff, like to get back to the Christopher Nolan loves wealth thing that we talked about.
Yeah, there are no half spider people running around.
Yeah, there's no one dreams about sex. Like there's none of that. But
Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't show up at his like high school musical and forget his lines. His pants fall down.
Yeah. Also, Leo DiCaprio is Christopher Nolan Christopher Nolan casts himself.
Robert Pattinson is Christopher Nolan in this.
But at the end of Inception, and it's a lot due to that great score by Hans Zimmer, I feel this wonderful
that might
sense
be
of
Zimmer's best score.
Yeah, it's that wonderful sense of catharsis. And at the end of Tenet, I felt I don't know what the opposite of catharsis. It is a vacuum of emotion. It sucks emotion into itself.
I'm going to see what the antonym for catharsis is, because this might be
entropy or something. I don't know. Like I don't even know what the right word would be. But it's a vacuum that sucks catharsis and emotion into itself.
And going to what I was saying with like Ellen Page's character, where I remember when I saw it, I was like, she is nothing here but an exposition person. She literally at like intense action moments starts asking questions, and now I'm
there's a
that's
part,
totally fine.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't bother me now.
And there's a part in the movie in Inception where she's like following Leonardo DiCaprio as they're shooting people on the snow planet, and she has no gun. She's literally contributing nothing
other than just to be. So what's going on here now?
Yeah.
it's and I'm like, that movie has a lot of emotion in it, surprisingly, and it's
like it has
space and its excitement is palpable, and it feels like such an adventure, and like I really want to rewatch it now. I remember being so impressed by it. Yeah, I'm still looking for the anonym for catharsis, or because you're right, man.
But it's like a, you know. It's like a black hole of catharsis. It just nothing escapes it. Like
it's a nothing ball. Like it's just so we
I think the thing that frustrates me, not that I need everyone to agree with me, I definitely don't, but I know like the Mark Kermodes of this world are gonna watch this movie and think it's genius.
Well, I hope not. I hope he has some. I like Mark Kermode, so
I do too. But like, he's got a blind spot for, I think, maybe for Christopher Nolan.
Well, Nolan is always so impressive, and I can hear it now. So I don't think a lot of people are going to understand what this is. And you're like,
because
they
don't understand it means it's genius. And it's the Rick and Morty critique of Inception. But here's the thing: Inception is conceptual. You don't need to understand the particulars of it. You need to understand the laws that it gives you.
Yeah, and how it affects the story you're in.
Yeah, and it's about, you know, like there's the theories at the end, like, oh, why does the top keep spinning or whatever? The top keeps spinning because his dreams and his reality become indistinguishable.
Yeah,
he gets his kids back. That's the only thing he lived for. That was his big dream. Now it doesn't matter to him. I
think some really clever person on Reddit finally discovered the secret of the totem. Did you hear about that?
Well, the secret of a totem is that it's supposed to tell you if you're in a dream or not.
Right. The secret of his totem, where at the end, the question, of course, that people have been cloying at is he in a dream or is he not? Yeah. And I think someone found like the answer.
What's the answer?
So
my answer is he's not. But
he's
the top
not.
spins because his reality is his dream.
Well, also that totem isn't his. It's his Valiant Cartier's. Yeah. And so he never mentions it. But it's assumed that the ring, his wedding ring, is his totem. In the shot at the end, when he puts his hand down, he doesn't have the ring on, which indicates that he is indeed awake. And I think a lot of people have just been like, "That's it. That's the answer we were looking for."
This is one of the scenarios where you could be looking so closely, it's just you've.
Yeah, it's literally right in front of you.
Maybe Leo DiCaprio forgot to take off his actual wedding ring in one shot or something like. But I like that interpretation. I like mine better because it keeps with the themes of the movie. It does keep with things. But this movie, for all any missteps that some of his movies have,
and we should get to a synopsis for it pretty soon.
Oh yeah. Bad guys from the future, maybe, have created a machine that can invert an object's temporal polarity. Mm-hmm. It can make whatever goes through the machine can now go back in time.
Right.
Or rather,
literally
travels literally backwards in time. Not like it doesn't time travel.
It inverts.
Air quotes, I say. It inverts the time, the entropy of an entropy of an object or whatever.
So, like, when he's testing something out,
he doesn't shoot bullets. He catches the bullet back into the gun as the bullet goes reverse in time.
So he, John David Washington, who is a former CIA operative.
Or generic intelligence operative.
Who, during probably the best part of the movie, the first 10 minutes, dies. There's no spoiler. He dies after a failed operation where he wakes up on a yacht and is like, yeah, you're dead, but you're not actually dead. Because you're dead, you're a ghost. And you now work for us. We are called Tenet, and we're time cops, essentially. Yeah. Or we're temporal anomaly cops.
Yeah.
Where he is introduced to his... He's introduced to his handler, who is
guy from Ant-Man.
Yes, guy from Ant-Man, but his handler, Robert Pattinson, or Neil, is his surrogate cool guy.
Who I feel like we can get to in the synopsis brings some blessed life to this movie.
Much needed levity, and
I wouldn't even say levity, just like energy, and like just he makes the movie less boring.
Yeah, he's kind of reminds me of not so much Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but Tom Hardy in Inception.
Yeah, that's exactly what he is.
Tom Hardy's
when we were
character is a
watching
little bit more of a wild card.
Yeah.
He's not as stoic and intense as everybody else.
Quick tangent. I was watching Inception the other day with my lady, and one of the things I noticed is Tom Hardy is not like big sort of meaty brooding Tom Hardy in some movies. He's fun and he's jovial. There's even a part where Ken Watanabe's character has been shot and he's slowly kind of dying over the course of this in the dreams or whatever.
Right.
Tom Hardy, because Christopher Nolan's script says so, has to go and lay charges, and it takes 20 minutes or whatever of the movie. But Ken Watanabe, he says, "I need you to stay here and hold this gun and make sure no one comes through that door or whatever." And he goes, "Not a job for tourists, huh?" And they share this little moment where like Ken Watanabe is getting lethargic and he's about to pass out, and they just kind of, he smiles and he kind of gives him a little pat on the cheek. He's like, "Attaboy," and he kind of just leave. That little things like that just make little things like that add such a nice little dynamic between characters that I feel this movie has a doldrum of.
Yeah, and Pattinson doesn't fill the void as much as he could because he appears mysteriously and then his continuation is mysterious because John David Washington's character
Is literally
isn't
nameless.
a
Yeah.
character.
No.
Really?
I mean, literally, because he has no name.
He has
He's
a
called
name,
the protagonist.
and they call him that when he meets up with a gun runner who kind of is sort of the exposition person to be like, "This is what's going on. I need you."
Everyone is an exposition person.
Oh, well, Michael Caine in this movie.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah,
You brought that up to me when we saw it. I was like, God, it's just all exposition.
he has no reason to be there.
You might as well just had pause the movie to a white screen. Christopher Nolan walks on and he goes, "Here's what's about to happen."
Yeah.
And like
or have it be Michael Caine. Michael Caine pops on like he's Alfred Hitchcock is like just, "Oh, hello there. Allow me to tell you real quick what's happening."
And I'm told that, like, which would you rather have? A movie that, like, because one of the big criticisms when the theatrical of BVS came out was his movies don't make sense. He doesn't let his characters speak enough. He shows it all to you on visuals, but he doesn't, like, let there be a little exposition. Would you rather have a movie that is clunky and overbearing with exposition, or a movie that's kind of just like show don't tell and kind of just throws it all at you?
That one.
Yeah, me
the
too.
latter, because cinema is
A
primarily visual.
Yeah, visual medium.
It's you wouldn't want this much exposition in any kind of
Even in a video game, I'd be like, "You're on
even in
thin
a
ice,
play
buddy."
or a book. Like you also have to paint a picture, and there are some freaking great pictures in this movie.
Sure,
he spares no expense.
Easily, it's his best looking movie.
Yeah.
It has some great and exciting action, both action fight sequences and action set pieces. But we can go back to the synopsis as we're tracing it, or wherever. So they have to get information because some of these bullets that were inverted, and this feels kind of dumb just saying it, but some of the bullets that were inverted were traced to India, and if it's from India, it's from this arms dealer. A tremendous leap of logic, by the way, because just because they came from him, you were trying to find the person that inverted them or how they got inverted.
Right.
But
which this person, this lady who they
knows,
knows.
But that's because the script says so.
Right. And it's like, well, if you know, how much more do you know? Because John David Washington is our audience surrogate because he's seeing all this for new eyes. But also so are a lot of other people who don't know what's going on. The problem is everybody is super cool, so no one has a moment to be befuddled,
confused. Yeah.
John David Washington's character goes from like, "Explain this to me," to someone saying, "Are you familiar with quantum physics?" And he's like, "Well, yes, quantum physics means da 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 da." Or, "Are you aware of this incident?" "Why, yeah, I know about this incident. It's da da." And I'm like, so he's just a Wikipedia, like,
and he has instant recall.
Yeah,
like,
and he's
unflinching.
Yeah, unflappable. Like he's never intimidated.
If you kicked down the door and he was like getting dressed or something, like he was naked out of the shower, he would just be like, "I knew you were gonna do that.
Yeah.
It's fine, I got you." Like, it's like,
and I'm like, there's a way to do that character, but it doesn't really work that much. And I like John David Washington, but he's not nailing it.
Those characters work better as villains.
Yeah.
Because you want a villain who is ahead of your hero.
That makes him more scary.
Yeah.
But there's like a moment when a character threatens him. I won't say it is, that's too far in the plot, but a character threatens him violently. And he...
very uncharacteristically violently for a Nolan movie.
Yeah, very, very gruesome. And those stakes are real. And he
seems to have no problem.
To continue making D&D references, he rolls perfect. He rolls perfect 20 charisma rolls.
Charisma
every
slash
time.
What's the word?
Persuasion checks.
Persuasion
every
checks,
time,
that's right.
to the point where the guy's like, "Huh, you're interesting. I want you to work for me now."
No.
It goes from "I'm going to make you eat your balls" to "Come walk with me. I'll tell you my secrets."
No, not eat your balls. He's gonna cut a hole in your throat. Cut your balls off, put them in your throat as you drown on the blood of your balls or whatever.
It's pretty gnarly. But
it leads us to Kenneth Branagh and his wife,
ex-wife,
current, maybe estranged wife,
on his way out wife.
Yeah. Who is he?
Elizabeth
He is
Debicki.
Yeah, and he's overbearing and protective of her, and it's very much the line is in the movie, "If I can't have you, no one will," kind of thing. Which could be cliche, but I would say Kenneth Branagh makes it feel real and like there's real stakes, at least with her.
Yeah.
I still kind of found
they have a lot of, I won't say chemistry, but their stakes it feels like a more interesting movie than what's going on elsewhere.
Yeah. Like this movie is
one of the more interesting characters is Kenneth Branagh's character, even though he first starts off as just like some kind of Russian oligarch.
Yeah.
And he's got this very thick Russian accent, but he makes it work because it's Kenneth Branagh. Like, he's scary.
This movie, when you think about, like, when you just really stop and look at the whole picture, it's real. It's like, it's dumb. It's a weird, like, dumb, silly movie. At the end of, we'll get to that in spoilers. I don't want to get to it yet. But there's a part at the end of the movie, and I was like, that makes your movie look so stupid.
And we'll get to it.
I'll get to it in a second. But yeah, so he has to go deep undercover with this Russian oligarch, pretending that he's going to help him steal plutonium. When what he's actually stealing is the other thing that he wants, which is I guess I don't know if we're getting into spoilers now.
Yeah, I think we'll just kind of leave it at that. Is he gets involved in the things between Elizabeth Debicki's character and Kenneth Branagh's character as he's trying to come closer to understanding
what is Tenet fighting against.
What is Tenet fighting against? What is Tenet? How is this related to things? And the mystery swirls deeper. We're gonna go ahead and just start talking about the movie.
Yeah,
and I think we'll see you on the other side.
I think if you want to see the movie.
Yeah, go see it. If you get a chance, like, especially, obviously I can't recommend you go see it in theaters because that would be irresponsible. We were lucky to see it completely in the best socially distant environment possible. But once it hits home, I don't know how well it's going to hit at home just as a viewing point. When more people see it, you're going to see more people do their big, like, what was that?
Well, I mean, it's getting good reviews, and I think people have, like, this movie is like reverse Bernie Sanders, where critics of Bernie Sanders, like the centrist critics of him, their brains are broken by him and they make outlandish criticisms. This is the opposite of that, where critics are so inundated to loving Christopher Nolan's things that it is programmed their brains to not look at something as ridiculous when they see it.
And do you think that's also because there's nothing else out right now, literally, that like
maybe, but I like to think
there's just no other fish in the sea at this
But
moment.
I like to think critics watch a lot of movies.
Yeah, they get a lot of screeners and have private things.
And they interview things on Netflix or whatever they can't. Like, I don't.
And to be fair, I probably should check out these reviews to kind of get an idea of what's up with that. But
yeah, and I think it's like it's in the 80s-ish or whatever. And some people are saying things like, I remember one of them was like, Tenet's complex and fast-paced plot might leave some in the dust, but it's really like lots of interesting visual flair from Christopher Nolan. I could say the same thing about a Batman v Superman, and they would laugh in your face or whatever. I think he has broken some people's brains, at least in the way I see this movie.
It's before we go into the nitty gritty of it, I mean, go see it. It's a Chris Nolan movie, but it might be one of my least favorite ones because it just leaves me with nothing.
Yeah,
it's not like
that's the biggest critique is that emotionally, I said to you, I think it's lacking a bit of heart.
Yeah,
at somewhere.
Well, I think it's lacking the whole deal because it's like I don't feel bleak after it. I don't feel happy after. I don't feel cathartic. I don't feel anything.
But I never felt
empty.
Dread before either.
No.
So like I didn't feel like, oh, what if they don't I don't what?
Yeah. The stakes never get there. And
to stop this nonsense plot?
Yeah.
Anyway,
Again, when you introduce World War III and don't really fully explain it, there you go. Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if I ever want to watch it again. Like,
and here come the spoilers.
yeah. So
I'll get to a couple of real quick
some
things.
The spoiler stuff, there are some really cool moments.
Yes.
And that's stuff that does stand out.
And there are really cool moments that I don't quite understand or know why they're necessary, but I still kind of think they're cool, and so I kind of put them in the cool category. Or they're good. Here's some things that I think are just mistakes that could have been addressed earlier to make certain things later pay off. We were revealed that Kenneth Branagh's character has cancer and he's dying, but we were revealed that like 5 minutes before that happens.
Yeah, I didn't know at all. Didn't know at all, unless it was mixed in dialogue.
How much better would it have been if like we're introduced to him and he's kind of sick or coughing a lot?
Or like when he's first introduced, like you show him like coming out of like an MRI machine or something. Like give us a visual cue that this
and
man
show
is,
us that he is
this
anxious.
man's bravado and imitation is hiding fatality. Like it's not fatality, but it's hiding vulnerability.
Yeah, and show us that he is, anxious about his impending death, and then he feels a need to get this accomplished or whatever.
Because his death is connected to
the algorithm, which is not. This is the part that's so dumb, but the algorithm is like several hundred years from now, a scientist will create, like, she's like the Robert Oppenheimer of her time, and she will create a thing that could destroy all life or something. So or reverse the entropy of all life, thereby destroying it or something. Doesn't mean your whole world becomes backward. This is what I'm saying is like the movie doesn't make sense from a physics standpoint, so you can't, it's difficult to make a threat that even makes sense. But so she splits it up into 9 physical pieces somehow,
breaks it up into Horcruxes.
Yes, and scatters them across in the past. Why not? And we only see one of them.
Right, that's so
we
dumb.
only seen one of them, because what if the other one in the past is in the 1600s?
Yeah.
Like if we're going to that degree, like you're talking about time travel then.
Yeah.
Because the object isn't moving backwards in the past; they just find it.
Right.
Anyway.
You're right. Like it's properties in terms of how this whole.
What would have been a smarter thing is it is moving backwards in the past, and you have to find it because it's moving back to the end of / beginning of everything
time,
or whatever.
yeah.
So like you have to find it and stop that.
Yeah, that would be a cool visual thing. Like they're standing in a spot and then it just appears
and it
it's
flies
just
up to a cliff, and you have to get oh, son of a bitch. Like that's just hearing that made me more excited. But
well, it's like one of the thoughts I had was I was like, so in the future, there's this nuclear war. And my thought was, because I could barely pick up any of the dialogue. Cause
that needs to be said.
Needed a subtitle.
The dialogue is so fast, and the sound
muddled.
and the sound mixing so quick. And there's lots of times when characters have masks on, and you can barely hear what they're saying. It's hard to hear this movie.
It's heavy, a lot of heavy accents in places where I'm just a lot of British accents that I'm just like, they're really not enunciating well enough. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I thought that it was like in the future, because of this massive nuclear war, that the radiation caused these anomalies. Either that or I was just projecting that because that sounds like a cooler idea. And so therefore, like the anomalies from the future's destruction of radiation.
I think what you're talking about is at the end, Kenneth Branagh says like, "Oh, we destroyed our world in the future," or something like that. Or like I don't know how he's from the past, but
yeah, it was more related to like how the entropy and how these anomalies work.
Yeah.
But it is a machine. Like, it's just a time machine sort of. Except when you go in, you go back out. Backwards.
Yes. I mean, to you, you're not backwards, but everything else around you is backwards, but
you
you're going backwards
You have
in time.
to act as if you are going backwards because you are, in order to make sure it works. We see that with when
the lady catches the bullets and stuff, and she goes, "What about free will?" And I was like, and it's like Christopher Nolan looks right at the audience and says, "It doesn't matter," and screams at them, but it does matter.
But also like, well, that's really cool. How about philosophy?
Because he talks about how like, oh, we can't know those things. Those are paradoxes. While he creates paradoxes, the character Kenneth Branagh sends himself money from the future.
Well, he doesn't.
Oh, who doesn't?
The organization involved in all of this.
How though, Matt?
I don't know.
It can't be time travel because this isn't time travel. Like
I don't know. But I thought that was cool. Like he is.
it is cool
he is a
if
young
you set
man.
up in a world where you can do that and it's not a paradox. Or lean into the fact that it's a paradox. It doesn't make sense. Like
there you go. Have your contradictions become a plot point.
Yeah.
Like there's a leak in the paradox, because that's actually something interesting about his backstory. Is like he was a young man in Russia
in these hidden cities.
He
was tasked to dig up
after an explosion.
Yeah.
After a meltdown. After like a small Chernobyl situation. And this is like right 1990 or so. It's like right after the war, the Cold War is over.
Yeah.
And that's part of why he has radiation sickness, because he's doing all that. But he discovers a cache designed for him, full of gold, and it was set up to him by the future people. How, I don't know.
Yeah, but it also,
because it's not time travel.
but it also the paradox is that he is motivated by the fact that we destroyed our future, and he feels the need to right that wrong by destroying the past and stopping that. Doesn't make sense.
Right.
But he gets his motivations from the people in the future that have been destroyed, and they send it back to give him the motivations to do. Do you see what I mean?
He's been talking to them. He has communication
cyclical
with the people of the future.
Yeah. It makes his motivation cyclical.
Yeah.
Which don't make sense. Anyway.
If he was a madman of some variety, then sure, but he's not. He's a capable, intimidating monster who has a genuine human vulnerability related to his children and his wife.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, Elizabeth Debicki's whole character is completely reduced to "I'm a mother," and I think that could be very compelling, but it is also not.
It feels more like Christopher Nolan is bored with women characters.
Yeah, it's not a good motivation. I mean, it can be if it's the focus, but she is this smart, strong, capable character who's, in the end, her motivation is my babies. And when it could just be like, he's a monster who's going to destroy the future, and he's also an abusive man, and I want to stop him or get out of this before it gets worse.
Yeah, leading into and they lean pretty hard into the abusive stuff.
Yeah.
I think the thing that was a missed opportunity was the part where she says, we talked about leaving my child or whatever, or abandoning my child or giving him to someone else, and I considered it for the briefest of seconds, and I felt ashamed.
Yeah.
I really liked that, and I would have liked to have a little bit more of that. We get like the shadow of abuse until there's a part where like she comes into the gun warehouse and he just straight up like punches her and kicks her.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Stuff. I don't think we get nearly enough to make that interesting
or compelling in any way.
And I'm not trying to say, like, I know, like, you're saying that a woman being abused isn't a good enough reason for her to want to kill her husband or whatever. Like, no. I'm saying in the narrative itself, it's not interesting.
Yeah, it's just... And with everything being so inconsistent and tonally inconsistent and having that Nolan kind of gray everything, you don't feel heightened emotion at all.
That is true.
Which
is why I said Robert Pattinson is a breath of fresh air, because John David Washington, when he plays the guy who knows everything and feels everything, like it makes him, one, boring, and two, emotionless.
Yeah.
And I've seen him in movies. I saw him in The Black Klansman, where he kind of plays a similar, like, reserved character, but he's very good.
And he's of the era.
Yeah.
Like, he's also very much like a man of his time, and it works because he's like, you like in that movie that he's getting one over on these guys.
Yeah.
But there also are vulnerabilities. He's like, if this falls through, me and Adam Driver are in deep shit. And so are the people I've gotten involved in this.
Yeah.
Of course, that's a true story. Like that happened, but it is a stylized, Spike Lee true story.
Yeah, but he just has all the answers except for the ones that he doesn't. But those don't matter.
Those don't matter to him. He has no stake in them. He has no stake to the plot. He's just the agent on the mission, and you are going along with him. But he is the most uninteresting character because he's barely a character.
Yeah.
Except at the end when it's revealed that he is the most important character.
It's okay to have a character that does not develop. John Wick is a character that really doesn't develop a lot.
Yeah.
But you have him, but a plot that swirls around him.
Right.
And it's about his reactions to that. But John Wick gets the shit kicked out of him. He gets like completely like blindsided by all sorts of things, and watching him roll with the punches that is the movie.
And
Adam
also-
Driver rolls with every, or not Adam Driver, he does, but John David Washington, he rolls with every punch and kind of knows more than he should in this movie.
And accusing other people of knowing more than they should as well, which they do.
Yeah.
But he never, in something like John Wick, like, I know what John Wick is. I know this character dynamic. I know what he is.
Yeah.
And I know how that character is going to do, even if it is a static character. I get him.
Yeah.
I get what he is. I don't understand quite what
We don't even know what
the protagonist is in this, because other than he is a man with great skill, great intellect.
But what does he care about? What is he like? What is
Yeah.
he afraid of? What are his hopes? What are his dreams? What are his fears?
Right.
You don't create a fully developed character if we don't know some of those things.
And those are things that, like, Nolan is capable of doing. We get
Exactly.
that from we know all about that from
Inception.
Inception,
The
Leonardo
Prestige.
DiCaprio's character, so much of Matt McConaughey's character in Interstellar,
Yeah.
like Bruce Wayne. We get a whole movie about it.
But here, like, this mysterious protagonist feels boring
Hollow.
and hollow. Yeah. Also, Christopher Nolan. I want to talk about some more inconsistencies. Then we'll get to I want to get to some good stuff because there are good things I
There
want
are
to
some
say
good
about
stuff in it. Yeah, absolutely.
the ending of this movie where him, Robert Pattinson, and Aaron Taylor Johnson pull this thing out of the ground and I have Christopher Nolan, the man who loves the thinking man spectacle, such a boring doomsday device of just like a magic wand from D&D cobbled together. It's so stupid. What was it gonna do if it went off? Because we see the bomb go off, but what if the whole point is like, oh, if this thing goes off, we're done for. But what happens
what does it
when
do?
it goes off?
Does it just stop time? Like,
It's him going, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But I want to worry about it.
yeah, I want to care.
In
I need to
a
know what's
world
going
of
on.
time travel, like, it just feels like he should have just said a movie about time travel. So then it could go off and we could see how terrible it is.
Well,
and then he goes, I gotta stop it. He goes back in time to stop.
Well, that's where, like, you get something like we understand the stakes of something like Terminator 2. In Terminator 2, you open the movie with like the battle of Skull Beach, and it's like, oh shit, this is kind of bad for everybody. And then you get Laura's daydream where she imagines the nuclear bomb going off in Los Angeles. Yeah. That's a daydream, it's not a flashback, but we're like, we get it. We know what the stakes are. Nuclear annihilation, the last dance of mankind.
But he sets it up as something worse,
Something
mysterious and unknowable. Cool. What is that?
And there's a way to make that interesting, but you have to make it mean something.
Show us casualties from it.
Looper, for instance, we never see the apocalyptic tyranny that the child in Looper will bring, which is why Joseph Gordon-Levitt's sent back to stop him, or Bruce Willis is sent back to stop him. But we don't really need to, because it's explained easy enough.
And we've seen casualties of it.
Yes.
Is the big thing. We don't like it. Could be like, oh, this is a character who was inverted by this bomb going off, and he's just mangled up or destroyed, or like, I don't know, a corpse. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that to me feels just like so boring. And Christopher Nolan loves crazy spectacle that it's hard to understand. At the end of Inception, you go into a black hole and it leads to a bookcase.
Yeah.
And this is just like, I don't know.
In Interstellar, when you reach
our
the end
doomsday
of-
device of MacGuffins, like
In
from the
Interstellar-
director that
That
defies
sent you to
convention.
The director that sent you to the fourth dimension, that put you through a black hole and said, all right, it's up to me now. And he was like, it is fractals. And it's like, that's very bold, and this, I'm just like, it's
cares?
nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing here.
Also, the paradox is that they're doing two things, two negatives or whatever. We have the red team and the blue team, and the red team is going forward.
The blue team's going
and the blue team
backwards.
is going backwards, but they're doing it from the information that we have from the red team. Yet people in the blue team make terrible mistakes. One guy gets sucked into a building as it rebuilds itself,
Right.
and dies. I assume.
Or had died before the explosion or during it and was just sucked back. Something.
Yeah, and I couldn't. The entire time you and me were watching that final action scene, we both kept saying, "Who are they fighting?
Yeah.
Who are they shooting at?" We never see a bad guy.
There is a battle sequence that takes place at the remains of this Russian
City.
And there is a whole security force of formidable baddies there that we are never privy to beforehand. I think they're in parlay with Kenneth Branagh's character, but we're never introduced to him sending them out or like be sure to Operation Stingray
We don't know if he
fish.
hired mercenaries,
Yeah.
and that would be another cool thing. Have him bring like an elite amount of like death squad mercenary guys. That at least gives us a sense of tension.
Yeah.
Like
all you gotta do is be like, we're coming for it, and it's like, I'd like to see you try, and then you see all these guys, arming up, taking the ranks, and we know a battle is coming. Instead, they just land there,
and we
don't know who they're fighting,
and we see some cool spectacle and reverse thing happen.
yeah.
But I could not help but feel, and to use this word again, like it's so hollow, and I felt nothing during this big third act finale.
Yeah.
And I want to feel something.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what the aid of the red team's intel to the blue team helped them. How did it help them?
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either because I don't know.
You could put a gun to my head and I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just need to watch it again. I don't know because I did not know what was going on. I mean, you do get some of those cool moments. One of the ones I really like was when we figure out that Robert Pattinson's character is going reverse backwards out of the loop that they were planning to do.
Yeah.
And you see him approach this area, but you see one guy in the background, like way in the background, looks like an extra, running backwards in another area. And then you find out later that that's him.
Yeah.
So there are some cool.
And the guy in the truck who was honking and driving.
There's some really great payoffs and setups that you're just like, oh well, that just happened, but you don't think about too much. And then it comes around to be like, oh, neat.
Yeah, that's a great character arc too, because we set up he has a sort of, because he has a master's degree in physics, as if that would explain any of the nonsense in this movie.
Yeah, he would just be like, this is out of my league.
Yeah, he has a master's degree in physics, and because of that, he has like a sort of fatalistic worldview of like, oh, how do you stop this paradox? Doesn't matter, or whatever. Like, he kind of has like, oh, I've already done it. It doesn't matter. I'm not supposed to try to outsmart these physical mechanics. But the character arc is that he breaks that sort of thing for himself. He realizes what's going to happen when John David Washington and Aaron Taylor Johnson go into the tunnel and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he tries to stop that from happening by doing what he's not supposed to do.
Right.
And it gets him killed, essentially.
Yeah, it does get
him. Or at least
him,
I think it does.
It does get him killed because
he's
going up against...
He's already a dead man when we see him from the red team's perspective, and then he comes back to life and stops the bullet that went through his head, essentially,
to save John David Washington from being killed by
generic
the goon,
Russian thug
the goon who's dropping
the thing down the hole. You see how stupid I sound when I say this movie?
Will eventually be the thing that destroys the world.
I think.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yeah. But I thought that was a really nice character arc. And at the end, we realize that because he has that little dangly thing off of his backpack.
That he was also the one that saved John David Washington during the opera attack.
Yes.
And it's like,
before he got killed later.
Right.
But, yeah. But I like the fact, and then he reveals to John David Washington that he is the person that recruited him to join Tenet. And they will have a great friendship later. But he doesn't know he's about to die. Mm. But also, does he? Is he
still going forward?
Is he going forward or backwards? Did he create a weird paradox where one version of himself died, but the other didn't?
That's what I thought.
I don't fucking know.
And I was like, so the mission's over. He has no reason to go back and die.
Yeah, I think the feeling is supposed to be that, like, John David Washington seems kind of upset because he seems to know that he's going to die, and Robert Pattinson doesn't, and he kind of says, don't worry about it. And I like to think that's it, is that because Robert Pattinson's such a cool character, I want this interpretation to be what it is. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's such a meandering and confusing movie.
Yeah, because eventually the big reveal is that John David Washington, the protagonist,
is the guy who
is the person
Tenet.
who founds Tenet. So he retroactively ended up recruiting himself from the past to make sure it happens in the future.
But this isn't a time travel movie, Matt.
It's not a time travel movie. It's an inverting time.
It's a time travel movie because it creates the paradox of you create the handler who's like, I only have a name and a gesture for you. Mm. He's the guy that recruits him. But you recruit him who recruits you. It creates a
recruiters
paradox.
Are recruiting recruiters.
Yeah. It becomes a cycle that never ends.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense.
But that would be really cool if all the gears and everything made sense.
Yeah.
And also you brought up the gesture at the very beginning of the movie. Near the beginning of the movie, he gets a little gesture. He's like, "All right,
Put your fingers together.
You put your fingers together, what does it eventually become? It's like because it eventually represents something.
I can't remember.
I can't remember, but it's like you say it in say tenet, and she mentions it can open the right doors, some of the wrong ones.
Yeah.
It never opens wrong doors.
No.
That would have been really cool.
It opens
if, like,
doors that he doesn't think are doors, but then later are revealed, oh, that actually
and
was
then
a door.
that whole thing, which I really thought was cool. I think I told you that. Like, I was like, this whole idea of like that can get you in, but what if one time he does it and it sends him on a bad path and he almost dies? That doesn't happen because they dropped the whole thing about like this will open doors for you. Tenet.
Let's talk about some good things.
The teneting must happen.
Yeah.
I cannot express this enough. It's a tenet. The heist sequence with the painting, with the plane and all that was A-tier classic Christopher Nolan visual gadgetry and machinery, and I loved it. That was really dope.
Yeah.
Especially the reveal later that the guy that they're chasing is John David Washington going back to fix a mistake.
We think.
Yes. Because also they go back again when Elizabeth Debicki is shot because this doesn't make any sense at all. I don't quite get it, except that there's one of the machines is there or something.
Yeah,
but essentially
the turntable machines where you go in and you go back out.
Right.
I think what they're doing is they're taking her after she gets shot back through that machine because they can't go through this machine again. Why? It's never mentioned. Mm-hmm. So that the bullet won't kill her anymore.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Because a bullet will double kill her.
Which leads me to one of my, it'll double, the bullet will create a paradox of itself, tumbling forward, backwards through time.
And she'll be shot forever.
Yeah, or something.
Which would be really cool in like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure sort of deal where there are abilities like that. Oh, this villain gets stuck in a time loop where he dies all the time and comes back to life, and dies all the time and comes back to life.
Yeah,
and that's his punishment. Neat.
I remember
this.
Which leads me to something that I did like, which was the fight scene between both John Washingtons and at the Norway port.
Yes.
So we see a guy in a SWAT team thing come out the first time, and he is inverted, and he is fighting an inverted guy, and there's some cool moves, and then we see it again from his point of view as the SWAT officer or the guy in the tactical gear.
Yeah.
And it's really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And I really liked it. And it also makes me look at like how Christopher Nolan was able to make these interesting fight scenes when like the Batman movies have such poor fight scenes.
Yeah, big ups to the choreographer and the sound design because those punches really land just some good and it feels real visceral and intense. And
it feels better than like almost all of the other action sequences we have because those feel
even there's some really great stuff in the battle sequence, but I'm like also like, why are we having a battle sequence?
Why? Who are we fighting? Like, yeah. I don't know, Matt.
Yeah, this again. I mean, we could just pretty much wrap it up here. I ain't got much else to say. We've covered everything.
I feel like this is Christopher Nolan being too smart to do a time travel movie. He's like, I would never feign to do such a juvenile thing as a time travel movie.
I don't do time travel movies. I do technical genre very differently. And I'm like, well, what is this? So it's a time inversion movie. Maybe you still didn't know what that was. It's kind of like how we talked about Denis Villeneuve was said like I'm not a younger me would not have been ready to make Dune.
Yeah,
I don't think Christopher Nolan was ready to make Tenet. Like, because I don't think he fully grasps.
Or maybe he should have made it earlier, and he'd be like, "Oh, it's an interesting idea, but he'll do better when he gets older."
Yes, yeah. Like this, because again, it's not that this movie's disappointing because you don't know what to expect. It's not that this movie leaves you feeling good or feeling bad. It's just boring for sure, and I don't feel anything. It's hollow.
That is the thing that's the thing I come back to.
It's an empty canister. It's like something really cool. It's like a cool futuristic canister, and you type in the details, you pull the levers, you open it.
A cool canister, kind of like the things of the algorithm.
Yes, exactly. It's like you get a future like cold fusion. That you open it, and it goes, and you look inside,
nothing,
and there's nothing in there. The movie is a MacGuffin itself.
And I feel like for a guy who sort of makes his claim off of interesting spectacle, but like characters that like are still at the, even if it's like a movie like The Prestige, like I still cared about the interaction between Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman and like their motivations. He feels motivationless. I don't know what inspires John David Washington to want to do this.
He's not having like an affair with Elizabeth Debicki. I mean, it's hinted sort of, but they never go in on it. So he has no emotional or romantic connections with anybody. He's buddies with Robert Pattinson, but it never goes anywhere more than that. Then they're just buddies who do tactical cool things. Yeah, no one. I don't care.
Also,
I don't care, and I don't feel like he cares.
With regards to Kenneth Branagh, we're told that if we kill him, it will trigger the device.
I thought immediately of is it Michael Sheen, or I can't remember his character in Spawn. I don't remember.
You mean Martin Sheen? Michael Sheen is Tony Blair.
Yeah,
Tony Blair guy.
yeah. Martin Sheen. I think, is it Martin Sheen?
Yeah, it's Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen is the bad guy in Spawn, where he's like, if my heart goes out, the world will explode. And I couldn't help but think of that. I couldn't help but think, like, oh, he's got a heart bomb, and if he dies,
it's Mama from Dread.
It's also it's also those same deal.
But like
Spawn started it.
she kills him though.
Yeah,
is that a thing we're supposed to be like? Why? Because like that's a paradox.
She kills him at the right time on accident, because she kills him in a moment of passion. But,
she does?
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of planned or what? No, she doesn't. I can't do this. Right, okay.
I don't think I think that's one of the few moments where she couldn't handle it anymore and just shot him.
And then she sees herself
coming up in the boat.
But this is not a time travel movie.
No, it's an inverted time movie.
Yeah, okay. It just feels like he should have taken the easier route of just make a movie about time machines. You have a time machine. Your time machine does this. You can still do that.
If you're given like a very basic concept, I have no doubt that Christopher Nolan can make it nuanced and interesting. Inception now. So my ultimate thing with this movie is I hope when people see it, when the inevitable videos and Facebook messages
I'm putting a salacious title on this video. I'm getting people to watch our review because I feel like with all of the critic lauding of other Nolan films, this one feels him at his. This is like This is legitimately like a self-indulgent style over substance movie in a way.
And hey, like if anybody who is listening has an argument or something that can try
You're wrong about it. No,
well, I'm open to interpretation. If you're able to blow my mind with this, go for it. I know Nolan likes to make puzzles as movies. My ultimate hope is that when people make the inevitable comments about like, I don't understand this movie, it's so complex and all that, they are not focusing on the puzzle of the plot. They're focusing on the fact that the movie itself feels this way.
Yes.
Because it is not like Inception. Inception is a very well-made movie with a plot you can follow
and it's not
and
hard
rules
to
that you can understand.
Yeah, the rules are very clear.
Yeah, it is not, not to, again, sound smug about it, but all the people who are sitting there scratching their heads like, Inception blew my mind. I'm like, yeah, but it's not that complex. This is complex, and I don't get
the
it.
idea. I would say that Inception is not complex; it's deep.
Yeah.
Whereas this is
hollow.
It's hollow.
Shallow. Shallow is a better word.
Overly complex, needlessly complex. Where like in Inception, like the rules are easy to follow, but like what comes are the realizations of what come are what make the movie great. The idea that Leonardo DiCaprio accidentally kills his wife by giving her the incepted idea of the limbo that we are in is not real and we have to return to the real world. And when she wakes up, she still has that idea in her brain and it kills her because she still thinks she's trapped.
Right.
That's a deep concept.
And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it creates despair in him. But also the plot
empowers the guilt that fuels the projection of Maul.
Right. As an antagonistic spirit, which is an interesting, cool concept, because also,
but easy to understand
in this movie, when the rules or the structure of Inception comes into danger, there's danger involved. Like when they go too deep, or Mal shows up and messes things up, or they are met with antagonism, you feel the stakes. You're like, oh no, the simulation is not supposed to go this way. In this, the algorithm never turns against them or the rules don't, because you don't quite know the rules at all.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want it to be like, the reason I don't like this movie is because I don't understand quantum physics. The reason I don't like this movie is because I don't know what this movie's about.
This movie, it has nothing to do with like understanding quantum physics. This movie is dealing with quantum ideas that are most likely impossible.
Yeah.
So creating a logically working plot off that framework is impossible, is the thing that I would say to that.
And then you put in a plot that with characters I don't care about, motivated by a protagonist that doesn't feel like he cares about it.
Action sequences that are nice to look at but have no weight to them. Like, and that's something I also notice about going back to some of his movies. Like, when I watched Inception, one of the things that I immediately thought about was, like, a lot of his action scenes in that movie are bland and I feel no tension. Could be because I've seen Inception like, 4 or 5 times now. But like watching them just shoot people with guns, it's kind of boring.
Yeah. Again, that goes back to, why are all the dream sequences in Inception levels in a video game?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are they all Call of Duty levels?
The coolest one we get is the hallway fight.
Yep.
That's a great practical effect. But
It's
here, I feel like the end finale is it just lands with a big thud. Like, and I don't feel catharsis at the end of it. I want to feel things about these movies, and Christopher Nolan has the ability to make you feel genuine emotion, and I feel like
I cried at the end of Interstellar.
Yeah. I didn't cry at the end. I cried at the part where he sees his daughter and she's a grown woman now, and he's heartbroken. Yeah.
When Matt McConaughey's bawling his eyes out, I'm tearing up too. And like, so yes, the man has exceptional empathy. But this is, again, a very cool thingamajig that opens up, and it is hollow.
Yeah, I don't have anything left to say. I'm sure
I hate that I have to say that about this movie, but yeah, I feel nothing.
Yeah, this is
I don't hate it. I don't love it. I don't feel.
To quote you, it's I nothing it.
Yeah.
That's how I felt at the end of it, and I want to feel like I saw something like big and great and cool. You know what it is? It's like it's the anti-Thor Ragnarok. With the end of Thor Ragnarok, it has great jokes and it does what it's about really well, but I felt like there was this weird hollowness to the whole thing where we reach the end and I'm like, what's it all for?
What is it all for, man?
No one's changed. No character arcs. There's no heart through the movie. Like, I just felt like this is Christopher Nolan's that. I would much rather watch Thor Ragnarok than this
I mean,
again.
absolutely, because Taika Waititi makes a fun
At
movie.
least it's funny. And that was my big problem with it, is that it's overly funny for no reason and like to no end. But at least I would have,
fun.
Yeah. And not that, like, I don't even need all these movies to be fun. Like, I think fun can sometimes be an overrated emotion when it comes to a movie. But this movie,
I mean, I want to have fun.
I wanted to have
especially
fun.
since we can't go to the movies all the time anymore. It's like,
I
want some fun.
You're right.
Look, I don't. Again, these wouldn't be complaints of me if the movie meant anything.
Yeah.
All right. Wait, hang on. There's nothing there.
Something like that.
I think that this is the movie date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the movie date.
This is the movie
You're not
date. I'm
wrong.
kind of getting a little off track. I think I'm a little tired.
Sorry.
Well, hey, I think that's our show for today.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have anything else on your mind? Obviously, we got more episodes coming up soon. We'll talk more about that soon.
I think we have like a Watchmen episode in the works, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that when we get to that.
I think that don't we see a piece of the algorithm at the very beginning in the opera house scene?
Yes.
What's that about?
Yes, we do. I think that is like Robert Pattinson's character was going to get it.
Oh.
Or like they were sent to do it. Well, for one thing, it was a terrorist attack because it was Russian.
Yeah. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything about this movie. Anyway. Yeah. We are on Podbean and the free Podbean app. You can find us on YouTube and iTunes.
We regularly update on those two. iTunes is making its way.
Yeah, iTunes is probably almost caught up to where I had it. And I need to go do the last 10 episodes that we've done recently and put them up there. But yeah, we're on there. We're on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Hit us up. I got more clips coming out on Facebook. Our most recent one was movie cliches.
Yep.
We love
That was a fun one.
/ hate.
I'm
Sarah,
thinking of a lot more now.
Yeah. Sarah listened to some, and she said she laughed quite a lot, especially at some of yours. Yours was the my God.
My God.
Sarah, it's starting. Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, this has been the Movie Date with Rob and Matt, a podcast for people who like movies but don't want to be too smug about it. I've been Rob,
Hey, I've been Matt.
and we'll see you guys next time.
Take it easy. Stay safe. Bye.